It is cool to cry. That's right. We have tears for a reason, and it's good to remember that. And when wrestling can tap into that water, awesome. I mean, it's meant to be an emotional roller coaster. So go and get those tissues and stop sniggering as you try and use your potty brain to twist my words. And yeah, I am Simon from What Culture, and here is 10 heartbreaking WWE moments that made you cry. Number 10, the Bloodline attacks Sami Zayn. So maybe this made you cry with rage, but still, tears are tears. You've got to get this in here though, because in terms of modern WWE, few segments have been as powerful as this one. By the 2023 Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns had manipulated Sami Zayn to the point of lunacy. This poor man just wanted to bring Usi memories to the Bloodline, and yet the head of the table always took it too far. This was a case in point. Because after his pack of wolves had defeated Kevin Owens and tied him into the ropes, Reigns took a chair and told Zayn to finish him off. He did this, of course, as he wanted to make sure Sam was loyal to the cause and KO was his oldest friend. So this was like sacrificing a child when you think about it. And you know that's a wild exaggeration. It was pure excellence, however, because as the fans roared for Zayn to change his mind, Sami took that weapon and yep, he blasted the tribal chief instead, and it ruled. Everybody played their part wonderfully and the reactions were spot on, and the icing on the cake was none other than Jey Uso. He didn't know what to do, he couldn't handle any of it. It was just the way WWE weaved this saga together that made it so good, and if you'd bought into it, it hit you right in the tum-tum. I bet this is still good in another decade or so. It is sports entertainment done right. Number 9, Kevin Owens betrays Sami Zayn. And this is a huge reason why the above was so good. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have history. This was also NXT at its best because, man, this story ruled. KO and Sami had been dancing and prancing around after finally making it to big leagues together, mostly because they'd been working their asses off on the independent scene. The problem, though, is that Sam got there before Kevin did. As we were going to learn, Owens didn't like that at all. As such, Zayn has spent 18 months giving it his all to become the NXT champion, and he's such a lovable babyface, everybody wanted this for him. We all knew it would be the best. So when he faced Adrian Neville in 2014 at this pay-per-view and won, forget about it. The wrestling world collectively lost their minds. Sami Zayn, of all people, had climbed to the top. Just got you right in the feels. The entire Good Guy roster came out to celebrate with him, with Owens being the final arrival because, of course, they'd been through so much, this moment was theirs. When Kevin wrecked him, you know it. I mean, he threw his now former pal to the ground and powerbombed him into the ring apron. And just go look at the crowd. You can see their hearts breaking. It's like Lisa Simpson ruining Ralph Wiggum. It was just the ultimate heel move as people started to genuinely hate KO as he started his own tear through NXT. This was so good, you should go relive it all today. It just doesn't age. Number 8, Eddie Guerrero wins the WWE title. So this was emotional at the time for obvious reason. Eddie Guerrero was never meant to be the WWE champion, but through sheer talent and the ability to win every single person on the planet over, he did. And he did it by beating Brock Lesnar of all people. I mean, it was perfect. It hits even harder today though, because a year or so after his No Way Out 2004 victory, we would lose Eddie after he suffered a heart attack. I think if we're being honest, still pretty damn sad in 2023. Guerrero was so young. If you do go back and watch this today, it will just ruin you when you see how happy the man is to do the unthinkable, and the fact it happens essentially in his backyard is even better still. I genuinely think this is one of the best things that WWE ever did. It's what wrestling is all about. Our hero wins the day. Number 7, Mark Henry pretends to retire. I am still shocked by this one. I didn't know Mark Henry had it in him. This sums up that sometimes WWE needs to let its performers off the leash, as I bet Mark had this under the hood for years. Going down in 2013, however, Henry walked to the ring in that salmon jacket and said he was done. He shouted at his family and said he was coming home as an entire arena chanted, "Thank you, Henry." And even if a swerve hadn't have been coming, this would have hit you in the Tootsie Toes. It was really good. The true icing on the cake, though, was down to the fact that John Cena had come out to say hello, and even given Mark the WWE title to hold as a nice fare thee well. When Henry smashed this guy with the world's strongest slam and revealed his true intentions, it ruled. This whole segment was magic and absolutely the highlight of Mark's career, which is funny, because that's what he was supposedly ending. Can't beat wrestling. Now, it is terrifying, this was a decade ago, but still, talk about knocking it out the park. Number 6, Ciampa betrays Gargano. Because we want to believe in the power of friendship. I knew I shouldn't have listened to those damn Care Bears. Everything here just worked though, because Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano joined NXT at the same time, became pals, started the DIY tag team, and just had the best matches. They were so good. When they won the NXT tag team titles, it actually felt like a happening. Then it halted. Ciampa got injured and bam, all the plans are out the window. Gargano carried on swinging and actually made it to the main event scene, which was cool, when we eventually got to take over Philadelphia. Andrade had just defeated Johnny for the world title when Tommaso hobbled out on crunches. Ciampa threw his walking aids to the floor, and you've already guessed it, destroyed his pal. What the flub? While this may sound like your traditional WWE tag team breakup, it really wasn't, because nobody saw this coming. Genuine betrayal allowed Tommaso to become a mega heel too, and this was some of the best stuff NXT ever did. It felt real, damn it. Tears flowed like wine. Number 5, The Undertaker retires in an empty arena. The Undertaker spent the last few years of his career looking for that perfect final match. And I get it. If you've been going that long, you want to go out in the right way. Sadly, that's not how life works. Only it did. It felt like the Phenom was walking away after WrestleMania 33 and his loss to Roman Reigns, but the real-life Mark Calloway was so disappointed in that performance, he decided to carry on. Mania 34 saw that squash against John Cena, which I always thought would be a great goodbye, when we got to the Goldberg fiasco. And it was the same with D-Generation X. Let's just forget about it. Because thankfully after this we did go and figure it out because we had the Boneyard match with AJ Styles. And I tell ya, this was one hell of a cinematic fare thee well. It fit the character no end. When Survivor Series 2020 rolled around though, WWE decided it would be nice if Taker did have a proper retirement, as this was 30 years since his debut. But there was one problem. We didn't have any fans. It was all down to the fact we were right in the middle of a pandemic, so we're in the Thunderdome, which is sad to start with, although to be fair, the ceremony itself was actually very effective. All of the Dead Man's most famous opponents were here, and even Vince McMahon did a touching speech. This really was treated as the biggest of all deals. Taker also dropped the line, "My time has come to let the Undertaker rest in peace," as a hologram of Paul Bearer flashed up on screen. I mean, come on. This was the sort of emotion you can only get from someone who's been doing this a long-ass time. As we know, there will never be a character like this just because of the times we live in, but dude, I tell ya, what a moment this was. Number 4, I'm sorry, I love you. And no, I'm not talking to you, but it still rings true. I am sorry, and I do love you. Always. As I always bleat on about though, I was live and in person at WrestleMania 24, and what a privilege it was to see this happen. Now if you don't know, it was the retirement match of one Ric Flair, and while the Nature Boy would do what all wrestlers do and keep going after the fact anyway, we didn't know that at the time. It really did feel like one of the greats was walking away. Shawn Michaels was also the perfect opponent as he could make me look good in the ring if he wanted to. Don't forget what we had done before this. Flair had been challenging everyone and their dog with the promise of the fact that if he lost, bam, he'd be done. You also got that wonderful "Leave the Memories Alone" video package which got you right in the tum-tum. The ending to this. Knowing his hero was finished, HBK tuned up the band, but before pulling the trigger, he did indeed mouth the words, "I'm sorry, I love you." Good grief. Obviously it tied into the fact he didn't want to be the guy to retire Flair, but damn it, he had no choice. I've already told you this. It's what wrestling is all about. It also meant when Flair was sobbing in the ring after the fact and waving goodbye, we all joined in, and he was wrestling again within the year. Let's be honest, it was always going to happen. Number 3, the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth reunite. I'm not sure there's ever been as good a relationship on screen in wrestling than Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. It's somewhat of a shame when you learn about the backstage happenings. We don't need to worry about that here. By WrestleMania 7, though, these two were at odds on screen as the Macho Man went toe-to-toe with the Ultimate Warrior, and the sensational Sherry had taken over management duties for Randy. Together, they had also cost the Ultimate Warrior his WWE Championship. They were heathens. It meant this match was littered in story, including the fact that now Macho King had put his career on the line to boot. Everybody was like, man, it's all going off. It turns out this was going to come into play, though, as Randy did lose, which was somewhat surprising. And I suppose Sherry wasn't pleased about this, because she was now out of work. So what did she do? She whipped Savage's ass. This was significant because Elizabeth had been shown in the crowd throughout this match, so the fans knew what was about to happen. And it did. For Liz got in the ring, smacked the sensational one around when her and Savage embraced, and I can feel it now, it was excellent. A huge reason for this was because of the impact felt at SummerSlam 1991 when they got married during the pay-per-view, and it was just the perfect end to their story. And it was nice. Nobody ever does nice. It turned out there was more here because it was Vince McMahon who had decided Randy was going to hang up his boots because he thought he was too old. But again, let's not get into that. Ruins everything. Number 2, Mick Foley retires at No Way Out 2000. We still do not give Mick Foley the credit he deserves. Aside from being a top-tier wrestler, he basically was the reason so many superstars made it to the top because he went out of his way to make them look great. The man was brilliant. Triple H was absolutely in this group of individuals, and when they went to war in 2000, my word, they raised the bar. that Street Fighter the Royal Rumble is still all-time stuff. It led to the No Way Out pay-per-view and this Hell in a Cell match. When Foley decided the years of physical abuse had taken their toll, it was time to walk away. Now he just needed the right exit. It started going back to the Cactus Jack character, which Hunter was always great at selling as if it was some sort of demon, and then it became nice and simple. Either Jack would win the WWE title, or he would retire. The reason it clicked is because fans decided this was surely a way to give Mick the title one last time, before maybe he went on to WrestleMania and gave it up. But no. Instead, Triple H held him off the top of the cell, through the roof and into the mat, before pinning Foley, saying goodbye. He had taken such a beating throughout this whole feud, you couldn't help but respect him even more, and you could see it in his eyes. As far as he was concerned, the journey was done. As ever, he came back as well, but let's not worry about that. Once again, this was just excellent. It really did remind you how wrestling can make you feel sometimes. Number 1, the streak is over. A moment so shocking, people still argue about it 10 years on. You have never seen anything like this. An entire WrestleMania audience sat there stunned because the Undertaker's streak had just ended. It was like nothing else. The truth was, most people had come to the conclusion that it was never going to be stopped. So when Brock Lesnar dropped Taker with one last F5 and pinned the dead man, thousands of humans thought their brains had malfunctioned. No way that just happened. It goes to show that long-term angles are the way, and this was over 20 years in the making. It also created memes and conspiracy theories that maybe this was a mistake. It really was something special. You even see some fans crying in the crowd, I suppose, because what's even the point of anymore? And we may actually never top this. Not sure if wrestling has the patience, and also, let's not pretend otherwise. A lot of this was happenstance. WWE may or may not have lucked into it. Who cares though, because they did embrace it, and look where it is on this list. True moment in time. Know of any other heartbreaking WWE moments that will make you cry or like you're cutting onions? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. Before you like the video, share the video and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read more articles like this with your eyes. Please do come follow us on social media, and most importantly of all, I just appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a terrific day and know that I'm very fond of you, and I will talk to you very soon.